I feel a little buzz in the room, man.
It's race week, baby.
It's race week in our hometown.
It's race week. It's our city. It's our time. It's September 20th, 2021. Welcome aboard, folks. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. We are episode 514.
Yep. And boy, do we have some secrets to give you today.
We have got the top 19 fastest ways to PR the Ironman Chattanooga race course this weekend.
Number 1, don't walk on the marathon.
Number 2, you're welcome for the weather. Number 3, I'm just gonna say it. I'm putting money on wetsuit legal.
You're putting money on it. I mean, you banked it last week, and now it's like the weather's not even going to get above wetsuit temperature.
I'm not even like worried about the weather. Like usually, when you see, you check the weather and you look at, it's always important to look at the 2 days before and the 2 days after, because if you can see, like Sunday right now, I think the high is 77, lows in the 50s, which I'm fairly certain I predicted that the highs would be the 70s, we would see lows with the 5s. But then you give you credit, but then you kind of worry, because if you look at Monday and Tuesday and you see 80s, 85s, you're like, oh crap, because sometimes it creeps ahead. There is no option for that in the forecast that I see. There is no 80s coming on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. We have had a crap ton of rain here the last 48 hours, and we'll have a little bit more the next 2 days. But what it means for me is a little bit of a cooler swim. The temps, I think I saw a low in the 40s on Thursday. It is going to be brisk here, and I think the river's going to cool down. So if you're racing Chattanooga, bring that wetsuit, get comfortable in it. I'm predicting a fast day on the race course.
For
no excuses for everybody.
For everybody,
dude, it's perfect, dude. Think about it. Ironman Chattanooga is one of the courses where it's got a brutal run, but the swim, it can be wetsuit legal, it cannot be wetsuit legal. It's been canceled in the past. The bike it's not that hard. It's in my opinion, it's a fairly fast bike course the way it's laid out. But the big thing about this race is it's always been sneaky hot, just unbearably hot on the run course that eats people's lunch already. And dude, people have been coming from 80s, 90s, 100-degree weather temps and training. Their big blocks have been all in, the hardest time of the year. And now you're looking at sunshine, 70s. Dude, if I thought Wisconsin was hoodie weather, this is. I sent all my hoodies to the dry cleaners yesterday, getting them all pressed out, getting my jogger pants ready to roll, and I am pumped. I am ready to be out there and spectating. It's gonna be a great week and a fun week, and I wish everybody the best of luck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks good, man.
I mean, you don't seem jazzed about the weather.
I've been wanting redemption for Louisville back in 2014 for a long
2014, well, you ain't gonna get it, man.
The hot race. I've been wanting that hot race just to see, but no, I mean, I guess I'm happy as it goes. But I was just talking to you about before the podcast here that one of the biggest challenges I think this offers people is, are you going to be able, push it enough? Because you might feel good, and there's going to be that, I just feel good here, but are you going to be leaving stuff on the table?
Yeah, I think that's where we're going to end up going today for our topic is just how you navigate and change going from a specific training condition that we've all kind of been in, the last few weeks and months with hot, humid, high dew point, running a 10-minute mile feels just exhausting. Your heart rate's high. You're like, God, I walk out of the door, I'm already in zone 3, going to the mailbox. I'm sweating through my shirt. You've got your hydration plan down. You've got your fueling down. You've been taking in because your sweat loss has been crazy, just how humid it's been. And then you go pop into a course where it's going to be basically perfection all day. And the opposite goes for, we had a bunch of athletes, race Maryland, and they were also over in Italy, and then Maryland, it was super humid, and then obviously you had the athletes that competed this last weekend at 70.3 World Championships. We'll talk about that as well, and they had basically everything you could possibly imagine on the bike course.
They did? I didn't see anybody post about that.
It was basically it was hail, snow, wind, rain, tumbleweeds, hot. It was basically, you name it, and it was there. And just how you just can't predict. We all like to control our training and try to apply it to a race day in a controlled environment and anticipate and assume every single thing we're going to have, but that's just not the case. But so I think that's probably what we'll go in today. But before we get rocking and rolling, we don't welcome you aboard. Like we said, this is episode 514. And I just want to take a brief second to thank all of our listeners. Over the weekend, we crested the 2 million download finally, and we're moving right along. 3 million, here we come.
Yeah, a lot of podcasts get 2 million per episode, and
yeah, well, we're not all.
We're just grinders.
We're grinders, baby. We just keep doing it, and we keep moving on. And we celebrated with a couple kazoos and a couple sparklers yesterday, and then now we're right back to work and right back where we started. But we appreciate you tuning in and giving us your time. I know you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general, so we know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you giving us a shot. We cover it all. We cover triathlon, we cover life, we cover everything in between. We'll do swim, bike, run specific podcasts. We'll do race recaps. We'll do race previews. We rarely ever have on a guest. Sometimes we'll hop into our Facebook group, which is Crushing Iron Group. If you want to be a part of that awesome conversation, answer one simple question, we'll let you right in. For the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, have been doing this for a very, very long time. I just kind of sit back, relax, and have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through, what our athletes are going through. We work with a very wide range of athletes with all different kind of abilities, skill sets, and goals from around the world. So generally, the vibe of the community that we have and the team is pretty in line with our listeners as well. So, and then Mike and I, we're still trying to find our way, still trying to find our best day, our best result, and trying to continue to get better. Which most of you are doing it. So we're not experts. We are definitely not professionals. We've just been doing it for a while. We made plenty of mistakes, and hopefully we can prevent you from making some of the same. So if you can take what we have to say today and apply it to your own life, make it your own too. Like, we don't offer anything that's really a cut and paste philosophy. It's more of just a general approach to training in life that hopefully you can make your own. And if we can do that and you end up having a happy and healthy endurance sports journey, then hey, double win for us. Oh.
I could use that. Yeah, I can use that today. It's been over 2 years since I've raced. And
I know.
I don't want to say I'm nervous, but
you're nervous. I can tell.
Can you tell?
Yeah, I for sure can tell.
I don't know if I'm nervous.
Are you apprehensive?
Yeah, I'm definitely in that spot where I'm like, all right, I'm ready. Let's just go.
Let's just get in the water.
It's like the patient piece.
It is, dude.
During taper is just something else. Yesterday, a day off for me. Sat around and watched it rain all.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the past 2 days have been miserable. It's like cabin fever, like on a different level.
Yeah, and I think that really didn't help me.
No, me either. I was like, get me out of this house.
I couldn't even, walk the dog. I mean, it was just brutal.
I think, the biggest thing for athletes when they hit any kind of a race week, and this is, for you and everybody else, what the worst part of it is? Idle time. Like, most people are they used to having like a very strict structure. Their day is so busy, or they have so many things and responsibilities they have to take care of, that they have to be very, very rigid with what time I wake up, what time I do my swim, what time I get my ride in, and they got to work around this. I got to work, I got to do my run, I got to do this. And then the volume lessons and their free time, they're like, I don't know what to do with myself. I feel like I think people tend to feel lazier because their life becomes less structured, which is a huge reason a lot of people do this sport, because they like structure. They like things to look forward to. They like to kind of check the boxes. And then when they feel like they fall out of a routine, they kind of feel lost. They're like, what am I doing? Like, I feel like I'm getting lazy. You start to, and listen, dude, idle time is the worst for an idle mind. And that is triathletes in general. It is like, let me dig as deep as I can find on the internet to try and find the worst possible case scenario for this race. And then let me also basically sit in my bed and scan my body to try and find one niggle that's probably going to pop up that I'm going to worry about for the entire week. Like, that is what triathletes do. They obsess and worry instead of like trying to not obsess about things that are negative and things out of their control. That's what they do. They find things out of their control and that are, worst case scenarios, and they absolutely end up focusing on that for basically the next 5 or 6 days. So if you're out there, no matter what you're doing, no matter what race you're getting ready to go, Augusta 70.3 is this week as well. That's just a little south of us. Relax, my God, relax this week. And if you're nervous and excited and anxious and like you said it, you haven't raced in 2 years, but a lot of people, this is like, they have events coming this week and the next few weeks that they've been looking ahead and they've been signed up for 2 years, right? And it's just, and it kind of, I always think kind of Ironman racing is kind of one of those events that kind of just, it in an odd way, as much as people obsess about it and post about it and talk about it 24/7, it still kind of sneaks up on people. It's kind of like, I can't believe it's here. Like, just a few weeks, you're like, I got plenty of time. Then all of a sudden, your time frees up, you're tapering, and now you get to think about the day more. You get to think about the fact that it's about to become a reality, that I'm about to actually go through this, and like it's about to happen. Because as we've known, like the last 2 years, like obviously 2020 was a wash. Even the early parts of 2021 were kind of 50-50 for some people, and some races have been pulled in other countries and smaller races. So I think every athlete's kind of been hedging their full on feelings for like, damn, like this is happening. Like this isn't like we're here, we're arriving, I'm leaving, I'm packing, like holy crap, like this is actually about to happen. And so I think that brings about a kind of a whole different level of emotions and just kind of picturing yourself in the race and actually getting to be around teammates and friends, and your family might be coming to watch. And it's like, man, like you said, it's been a minute, for a lot of people. We talked about that on one of our podcasts last week about what we observed at Wisconsin. Was like, you could tell it had been a minute for a lot of people. It's like, when it's been that long, even if you've raced before, you still kind of feel like it's your first time, like, cause everything has changed. And it's a different kind of feeling, I think, for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, man, after watching Wisconsin and everything, and it's been a while, and I think the biggest thing for me is just because like I just really don't have a great grasp of where I'm at right now. It's just been so long since I've really raced. I did that relay run up at Ohio, but like as far as getting it all together, I started packing bags. It's weird doing a race in your hometown. For one, this is like the first time that's happened. Mm-hmm. So I started packing. I'm like, big deal. If I forget something, I just, go in the closet.
That's right. Go to closet.
Or whatever. But I'm just trying to keep in mind that, this idea of racing free, because I think that's what can happen. I just want to read that. Emily sent me a quote about something, and I thought it really applied to, life, but as taper as well. It says, when a pattern is finally coming to an end, especially one that's been held in your body for a long time, that's almost when you face the most fear and resistance. Being set free actually feels incredibly uncomfortable and unsafe in relation to continuing to play out what you've always known. And I think that's really appropriate for, all the training, especially for like a lot of people, 1.5 years, 2 years of training for this race. And now all of a sudden it's tapering, your body's like, wait, what's going on here? It's easy to feel insecure and like kind of uncertain, but now's the time to kind of just let that all kind of flow and be free and race without, tension and anxiety and stuff like that, because it's in there and your body's been craving to like, I guess grow and hit another level or whatever you want to call it. But I don't know, racing here in Chattanooga, it's going to be, there's a lot of people coming in. We got like 50 people
50
racing.
From racing, yeah.
We've got a lot of people coming in to spectate as well. And there's going to be just an avalanche of activity around here.
No, dude, I toned it down for you because I knew you're racing. Like we have a very limited and strict schedule of events. Like it's not like you got to really go anywhere and do much of anything. I mean, listen, I love what, that quote in a lot of ways, because as a coach, something that I always kind of read or sense from athletes is not so much that people have this like overwhelming fear of failure, but oftentimes it's fear of success and fear of actually realizing their goals and their dreams come to fruition, because then they have to start kind of thinking a different way. They have to kind of start believing things differently and seeing things differently. Like they're not just this person who can't do this or can't do that. And then it's left like, well, now how can I do? Because like a lot of people get in the sport because they want to change their lives. They want to, lose weight or prove somebody wrong, or, prove this or to themselves. When they do it, they're like, okay, I got that. Well, now what? Like, they get, and the closer the race comes, like I always feel like it's this kind of medium where, like when I was getting the first few years, I was getting sober, and then in the same thing with like the therapist that I work with, he was like, dude, like people in recovery are at their biggest risk, not when chaos subsides and like the great things subside. It's kind of like when things are like, oh, things are good, things are relaxing, things are good. Then you need to be on like a heightened sense of like, alertness and making sure things are kind of nailed down, because you're like, wait a minute, like I don't have to worry about the race not happening. I don't have to worry about doing my sessions. I've done all the work. Wait, it's going to happen? Like now what am I going to do? Like, oh man, it brings up like a kind of a level of anxiety, which you're like, cause you're usually so athletes are so laser focused on what do I have to do? And then that feeling of not doing enough or nailing my sessions, or what's the race going to be like, or is it going to happen? And then when you get, 3-4 days out from it, you're like, okay, I can't do any more work. So those questions are gone. I can't overanalyze that. The race is going to happen. Okay. Can't worry about that. You're like, shit, what do I have to worry about right now? Okay. Let me find something. Let me find something to assess about. And then it usually kind of turns internally and okay, well, don't set yourself up too much for success today, because if it doesn't go right, you don't want to be trash. You want to be demolished. But like you said, racing free with no expectations is such a great way to race, because there is no failure, in my opinion. It's just do your best and see what happens. And so many athletes fail to go into, but when they get closer to race day, I do think that fear of success also comes in, because it's like, well, then what if I actually meet my expectations? Well, then what? What am I going to worry about next? What am I going to do? Or what if or on the flip side, if they are just, paralyzed by failure, and they put so many eggs in one basket about just finishing. Like, there are athletes out there right now who are worried so much about, am I going to make it to the finish line? Mm-hmm. Am I going to make it to the finish line? Have I done what's up? And then if I don't, what's going to happen? And I think the hardest thing to manage on the week and 2 weeks for a big race is everything that goes on above the chin. Because everything below the chin, the work is done. Like unless you go out and run over a curb or something and break your ankle, you're not going to do anything physically, right? It's all how you're reining in and how you're focusing mentally and emotionally. And to me, that's also going to dictate how your race is going to go. Because if you start veering off towards God, I just don't feel right, or this doesn't feel good, or I haven't had the best training, then you're just digging yourself in that hole of negativity that's going to show up on race day. But if you continue to be positive, even if you don't feel like you had the best lead up or had the most perfect, final build, you never know what's going to happen on race day. You just don't know who's going to win, who's going to lose, how people are going to show up. You have no idea what your body's going to say. Just like in training, and people just tend to think that race days are like this totally magical day that, the gods, the training gods and the triathlon gods smile upon you. It's like, oh, it's race day. Everything shall go perfect and your legs will feel fresh. And it's just like training. You wake up and you're going to feel great or going to feel okay or not, but you have to be ready to feel it all, right? You have to be ready to feel incredible. Have that conversation. You have to be ready to feel kind of medium and kind of wait for your body to wake up. And I think you also have to prepare mentally for how you're going to wake up and maybe not feel great, to give yourself the time and allow yourself to wake up and not force it, but still also understand that just because the day starts out great doesn't mean it's going to end great. Same goes for if the day starts out rough, doesn't mean it's going to end rough.
Mm-hmm. I got to tell you, I am 100% focused on, because I think one of the things with this idea that the weather's going to be perfect, and Chat sort of has that downstream swim sort of fast bike thing, and kind of a reputation for a little bit of a faster course or maybe an easier bike than normal, or, like a Wisconsin or something. I am preparing mentally 100% to not let that get in my head, because I've said it when we had the Chat weekend here and people are like, this bike course is, you're going to love it. Do not underestimate it. It's still 116 miles. That first 25 or something like that, those rolling hills, I've ridden it several times this year. And while it's not like a total grinder, it's not like, a walk in the park, some of that course. So, and it's a long ways, and it's still, a lot of time for something to go wrong. And it's a lot of time for you to kind of shift around in your saddle and get your ass kind of comfortable. Like that kind of stuff is what I'm thinking about. It's like, how am I going to get through that? How am I going to deal with my back and my neck and, the pain of my shoulder and like all these other things? Like I'm trying to make it be prepared for the worst type of a deal, instead of just going, oh, well, like we talked about this before, is I think sometimes you get to the point where like, I'm just going to go out and do this Ironman, after you've done a few or whatever like that. But it's so hard. It's not, I don't care if it was like, I don't know, the most neutral, perfect weather and wind in your back the whole way. It's still going to be a tough day for everybody, because it's all relative. How fast are you going to go? What are you going to do? You're going to push a little harder because it's nice, and then be like, oh, that might have been too hard, or whatever the case is. It's going to, and that run, forget about it, man. It's not easy.
No, no matter what the temperature is, that run's going to suck. The back half of the run is going to be very, very hard with the uphills and the downhills. But I love what you said about because in my opinion, the thing that people underestimate the most about the length and the time in the saddle on any bike course is kind of that gnat and mosquito effect. Like you can be outside having a great time at a party and everybody's cool and calm and like you're having a great time, you're watching the game, and all it takes is like one mosquito and one gnat to just bother the hell out of you. And you're like, I'm going inside. Like
worst day ever.
Worst day ever. And it's the same thing with the bike. Like it might not be your legs. It might be like, you didn't put putting on enough chamois cream, is your butt's hurting, you're aching, or, you got, your shoulders are tight, or your neck's sunburned, or you got an itch here, or your aero helmet isn't on perfectly right, so your ears are squenched. Like there's always something that pops up. It's just kind of annoying. You're like, God, just come on, and it takes all of your energy and focus from the fact that, okay, well, none of that's affecting my heart rate or my fitness or my legs, but I'm letting it basically control my mood and my attitude. Like, and people do this all the time, like in life too, and in training. One thing happens and they're like, I swear, like people are so stupid. Like one person like cuts in front of you or whatever, and you're like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I say that pretty much every day, that people need to get their life together. But, we do that on the race course. One thing goes wrong and then you let it just snowball, avalanche into like the worst thing ever, and it totally distracts you. Or like we had a question a few weeks ago in one of our weekly Zoom calls, like, how do you not let other pack riders that are drafting affect you? I don't give a shit. Like that's them. Like why worry so much about what other people are doing and not yourself? Because they don't care what you're doing. I mean, they're cheating, but still, like they don't care that you're doing. They're not wondering as they breeze on by going 26 miles an hour, 2 meters. They're like, well, I wonder how bib number 345 is doing. He's riding alone. I wonder how he's feeling. They don't care. Neither should you. Like worry about yourself and then focus on the things that you can control that actually matter. Like, do my legs feel good? How's my nutrition? How's my fueling? Like I always recommend like setting a timer off on your bike in terms of like, doing for fueling. People like to go by miles, but some miles take longer than others, so your fueling can get off. It can be hotter. It can be cooler. I don't think that's honestly going to be a huge factor with a lot of people on this course, is that if it is going to be in the low 50s to like low 60s when they get started, people are going to forget to drink. People are going to be, because a lot of the people who drink the thirst, you might not get thirsty for 45 minutes. Like we're used to walking out the door, hop on your bike, and you're basically drenched in sweat in 10 minutes. You got salt coming over your eyes, with your helmet on, you're wiping your face, you're just drenched. You look down your top tube and it's covered in salt. You're going to probably be going through like miles 30 and 40. You might not even start sweating yet. It's going to be like, once you get dried out, people are going to forget to drink. They're going to forget to see, like, they're going to be looking around, because honestly, like it is a very pretty course in my opinion. Especially once they, like you said, once they get through like St. Elmo, kind of the rougher roads and get out there, it's green, it's beautiful. People are going to be enjoying the day. And then all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, crap, I haven't gone through a whole bottle this first hour. That's what's going to get you. Like when you're when you drink to thirst, and like, that's why I said, like, you set a timer for like 10 minutes just to make yourself stay alert and then also just kind of do a system check. All right, am I on point? Am I taking in my nutrition? Have I taken a gel? Do I need to take a gel? How's my heart rate? Am I taking things in? Am I relaxing my shoulders? Am I wiggling my toes? Like doing all these things. If not, like you get out there and when you are feeling really good and the conditions are great, you get lost in it, because the effort to maintain whatever heart rate or whatever watt 4 weeks ago might have taken you like a level 6 or a level 7. So you're constantly feeling like that kind of pressure on the pedals, the pressure in your legs. But then when like the dew point drops, humidity drops, and it's a little bit cooler, you're like, dude, I'm just kind of flying today, and like this is going to be my day. And then you cruise through 2 hours and you're like, I'm way behind, and now you're screwed. And like there's that also, we might wake up, race morning, and while it might be in the 50s or low 60s, you still need to look at what's the dew point, what's the humidity, because that's the stuff, like it can be 65, 70 degrees, but if the humidity dew point are so high, it's still going to take a toll on you. So there's all things you have to like pay attention to. You can't just, like you said, take the weather, for granted. While it's better, right, than, predicted, at least to be better than what it usually is past, like you said, it is a long, long, long day. And you said it best when it's like, that also leaves a whole lot of time for something to go wrong. And that's why you have to just be, Ironman to me is an attention game. It's about paying attention the entire time. And that's when people, mess up. There was even a great point on this when I was watching the coverage of 70.3 World Championships in St. George. One of the lead cyclists, professionals, he's not even like through miles 5 and 10, and like, the roads are clear and there's no cars on it. And he's got his head like staring down at his, his bike unit, trying to see what he's pushing or trying to stay aero. hits a pothole, loses his rear nutrition and fueling. He's probably going, like 25 plus miles an hour. He ain't stopping to go get it. You know what the pothole was? Marked.
Was it?
Marked bright orange. And the announcer's like, yeah, he hit a pothole. And the sad thing is he was even marked. Not paying attention, lost his nutrition. They never followed up to see how it affected racing. But that could be you, right? Pay attention. And we've said it before. Most of the pothole hits and flat tires on a race course are rider error. It's not because the roads are terrible. They might not be pristine, but Ironman traditionally does a really, really good job of going out the night before and the day before, really highlighting the stuff, but you got to pay attention. It's just, you can't take any of it for granted. Good weather or bad weather, it's still an Ironman, and it's still something that has to be respected and paid attention to.
Yeah. And it's amazing. I went out to ride here at the battlefield on Saturday, and I was admittedly, I'm not always the perfect, training guy with nutrition and stuff, but I've been really trying to work on that as I get closer. And it was sort of a trial run out there. And well, first of all, it was, I got out there a little late, and they had, I think what it was, like a Civil War reenactment or one of those kind of things going on. So every corner, I'm driving around, all of a sudden these gunshots are going off all the time. You know how they have those cannons,
some musket booms,
all those cannons just sitting around out there, and I'm kind of riding my cannons going, I hope that isn't live or whatever. I don't know.
Seriously.
But it's amazing how different you can feel. I mean, that ride was 2.5 hours only. It's but how different you can feel from 10 minutes to the next 10 minutes or whatever. The different things that go on in your head. It's I swear there's oh man, I could go all day. And then 10 minutes later, I'm man, I feel I don't know if I can. But paying attention, like you said, I think, and a lot of that is self-remedied by staying ahead of nutrition, because it's it is a force feed situation for me. And I'm I could be out on that bike in the first 30 minutes and be really cold, but I'm just chugging down cold water and cold or nutrition and just putting it in. Cause whenever I think of it, that's kind of my trigger. It's even if I'm not craving it or whatever, I just think about it. It crosses my mind, thankfully, a lot. And I'm well, I better just eat a bar or do some stuff right now, even though I don't really feel like I need to. Because it is all about staying 20, 30 minutes ahead, right? If you can, that's the problem, right? I think most people get into that problem. Like you said, is you get 20, 30 minutes behind, and then it just doesn't really catch up. It takes a long time to come back. And then you're just way deep in a hole for the run and everything else. It's just kind of snowballing on top of each other. So I think that's maybe one of the most crucial things that's been said so far, like you said, is when you come out of the water and you get on that bike, you don't forget that you need to start fueling right there.
That was a great point. It's you can always slow yourself down if you get too far ahead, but you can't ever catch up if you get too far behind. That's just one of those things that it's almost impossible to do. If you get too far ahead with calories on nutrition on the bike, then just take in plain water, right? You're as long as you have that available on board, that's fine. If you get way behind on your nutrition and your fueling and getting your calories in order to catch up, you're going to have to slow down immensely, because it takes energy and you have to burn calories to digest all the fuel. In order to do that, you have to slow down, because everything you're doing on race day takes energy, whether you think it or not. It's not just all about your fitness and your aerobic capacity. It's about everything you do, your focus, you're holding on. There was athletes that I talked to in the last 24 hours did St. George said they're more sore from holding onto their bike, making sure it didn't blow over in the crosswinds than their legs, their shoulders, and they're just, and that's just the thing. You have to always pay attention, but definitely use this. And I think Chattanooga and a lot of courses are like this. People who are, and I also had this mentioned a number of times, was that it was very obvious on the race course in St. George, the riders who strictly only ride inside versus the riders who didn't ride strictly outside. There was a lot of weaving and not being able to hold your lines for people who constantly sit on their trainer and literally never ride outside. It was not a day to be that kind of person. But Chattanooga is a great example too of because people, when the roads are rougher, they don't hydrate because they're so laser focused on holding on. They don't want to grab their bottle, do this. All of a sudden, you, like you said, you just swam. Okay, think about it. You got up, you woke up at 3:30, 4 o'clock, whatever it was. You had a small breakfast. You burned calories through the night. So let's say your last meal was 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, and that's late. You sleep until 4:30, 5 o'clock. So you've gone 10 hours, right, without eating or anything. You're basically empty. Energy's been burning. You wake up, you have a decent breakfast, but probably not a huge one. Then you walk around, you get to the race start. About the first hour before you're to swim 2.4 miles, you don't take in probably that much of anything. You might top it up with some gels or taking a bottle of nutrition, but that's it. Then you're still going to swim, right? More than likely in a wetsuit. No matter what you're doing, we're going to burn more calories because your core temps can be a little bit higher. You're going to swim 2.4 miles, okay? Not being able to consume anything, not hydrating, not taking any calories. You're going to get out of the water. You're going to go through transition while you're running. Heart rate's up. Guess what? Not taking any calories. Hop on the bike. To me, the first, 10 to 12, not even probably 10, 12 miles and going through St. without the roughest roads easily, where you're going to see a bunch of lost bottles going over railroad tracks. People are going to be so focused on, you're going to be wet, right? Because you're coming out of the water. Your hands are a little slippery. You're probably going to be a little, honestly, maybe you might be a little bit cool, honestly. And you're going to make it through basically let's say you're an hour and 40 minute swimmer, right? So let's say you didn't take any calories 20 minutes before the swim. Now you're looking at 2 hours. You go through transition, we'll call it 10 minutes. You got 2 hours and 10 minutes. That's 2 hours and 10 minutes of activity where you haven't had anything in you. And then you're going to hop on the bike, holding on, making sure you're doing it. You might go through 5, 6, 10 miles. You've gone through not even a half bottle. Consider yourself behind. And those are just things that people don't. And then, again, add that into, it's not the danger, but it's the opportunity to get distracted and not think about it because of the temps are cooler. You're not sweating as much. You're not like, to me, when we used to ride in the lab all the time back in Nashville or on the trace, and like you're going up hills where you slow down, right? And you're climbing a hill or you're in the lab where you get like the tailwind and it's just humid. In my opinion, it's one of the benefits of having like hills. The wind slows down because you're not moving as fast. And you kind of get a real chance to see like how high you're burning, like how much calories you're burning. Your sweat's kind of pouring in your face because the wind isn't going to cool. Well, when you're cruising along in 50 and 60 degree temps, even 70s, and you're going 20 miles an hour, it's like having a fan in front of you blowing wind. And then you go from it's like sitting on your trainer, you got a fan in front of you blowing on level 3. You can't tell you're sweating. You take the fan away, and then after 5 minutes, you're drenched, right? And that's how the people are going to forget to stay hydrated because it's going to feel so pleasant. And again, leaves an opportunity. Like your run is only going to be as spectacular as how you pace the bike and how you fueled for the run on the bike. And listen, every single course, one of the very first coaches I ever hung around with, he gave me like one of the biggest things that I kind of took to heart was I asked him, I said, what's the hardest Ironman you've ever done? He said, the one I'm training for right now. He said the one you're training for now and the one you're about to do, you should always consider that your hardest one because elevation or temperature or the course type or fitness type, whatever it is, because it is just a hard effing day, no matter what it is. Your life is different. The course is different. You might feel different. It's just no matter which way you cut it, it's a hard day. Whether you're out there running 7-minute miles or you're out there running 14-minute miles, it all feels the same and it all feels like it sucks. It's just a hard day and a lot can go wrong. You have to be mentally dialed in. Like you said, you can't take a course for granted because it seems easier or the weather's cooler. You have to prepare for, I don't necessarily think you have to prepare for the worst, but you need to mentally prepare to be able to troubleshoot and to stay on course and to stay. You don't need that level of relief as you look at the weather or look at whatever, or it might be wetsuit, like, oh, finally I've got it. Because then if you let your guard down, that's when you get punched in the mouth because you let your hands down. Always keep your hands up on race weekend and definitely keep your hands up on race day.
Well, that's the thing is, right, I think we get confused by, making certain or trying to make certain courses harder than others or easier than others. But it is all relative because, like, I think about Louisville when I used to do that, and that run is completely pancake flat. And that's always been the hardest run for me because there's one, I think you have a tendency to go faster, and the same thing with this bike course, you have a tendency to go faster than you would at, say, Wisconsin or something. And going faster is harder, so it's like if you finish in a faster time, that doesn't mean it was necessarily easier. It does, but it's like the effect that you feel is going to be similar. And back to your point about getting out of the water and not eating that much beforehand and the night before and all that stuff. Think about if you did a 2.5 mile swim just in training and then you just kind of got in your car and went home, how hungry you'd be. Because, you're just kind of, your digestive blood is starting to go, hey, man, we need to fuel this up. But you get on the bike and all that blood's going to your legs or whatever, and I don't know how that physiology works, but just think about how hungry you would normally be after a big swim like that and how much you would eat.
Yeah, you want to go to Costco.
But if you get on the bike and ride for an hour and decide you're not even going to have to eat anything, you're going to be way behind the 8 ball on that.
Listen, like we saw it with, athletes that always race in different conditions, is that you always think it's going to be one thing. And then somehow in some way race day always, especially for a full, cause it is such a long day, always seems to present something that you could never have predicted or prepared for. And something on something on race day is going to go wrong. Like if it doesn't, then consider yourself one of the luckiest people who race that day, because for most people, pros, front of the pack age groupers, all the way to the back of the pack, something's going to go wrong. But you can make it right by how you deal with it and how really it's all comes down to on where you are mentally. Like your fitness, it's going to be what it's going to be. You're not improving any fitness this week. 0. Listen to me again. You're not going to improve any fitness this week. You know what you're also not going to do? Lose any fitness this week. The only thing you can do this week is do something stupid and go out and, try and jet ski with, like on a handstand jet ski and break your neck or something. But the other thing is what you can do this week is mentally and emotionally become disengaged or get in a negative headspace versus starting to feel confident. I've done all that I can do. So what's the point of worrying about what I haven't done? Because you know what? You can't. It's like going into battle. People don't walk up like, well, you know what I wish I had today? I wish I had this. And thinking about what you don't have. Think about what you do have. Do the best. Like that's one of the best lines that professional coaches give. We're going to play with the players we got. That's it. We're going to play with the players we got and see what we can do. Like they don't, well, we didn't have so-and-so this game. We didn't have so-and-so this game. No, they don't make excuses. So stop allowing for the process of excuses to kind of flow in. It be excuse-free on race week. And please don't find yourself walking up on race day or the days before and start every other sentence with a but. Well, like you told me a story, I think back in you sit up, you went to sit at the bar at the hotel, 9 or 10 o'clock the night before Chattanooga, right? You did it in 17. Is that this? Am I remember the story correctly? And the guy was like, yeah, but this have been happening real, messed up my training block, and I'm probably not going to have a good day. I'm like, you're right. You just said you're not going to have a good day. You're going to have a crappy day. Like now is not the time to make excuses or to go back and think about all the things that went wrong or what you don't think you did well. Listen, no one had a perfect buildup. We have 50 plus athletes toeing the line. I can tell you right now, none of them had all perfect weeks and a completely perfect buildup. It's just, that's life. Like all you should be thinking about is what went right, how you feel. If you feel fit and you feel fresh, then get ready to rumble. Like you never know what's going to happen. Don't tell yourself, well, it's probably not going to be a PR day. Well, you're probably right because you probably just said it's not going to be. Like anything can happen. You can do anything on any day as long as you wake up on race morning and you prepare race week to absolutely get out there and to get it done, to not quit, to stay focused, to be resilient, and to no matter what, put one foot from the other. Something's going to go wrong. You'll overcome it and keep moving forward. If you do that, then guess what? You'll have a good day. It'll be something you can be proud of. But if you start making excuses now and you start hedging your bets now, then you better keep doing it because excuses are going to reign and it's just going to go for a bad day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be. It can kind of be self. What is that? Perpetuating or
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I'm. You guys.
I got you, man. You guys don't worry about it. Yeah. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Got you, man. I got you, man.
If you,
you're
go down
tapering,
that road,
man. You don't need
I'm tapering.
Don't
My
try.
brain. Now, see, I'm gonna have a shitty race. I know it's gonna go wrong.
I'm having brain dysfunction this week.
I can't even think straight. I'm not gonna forget to eat. I'm gonna forget how to ride. I'm gonna forget how to swim. Like that thing crosses your mind too. It's like you don't have a few days.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm gonna remember how to ride my bike. It's only been 2 days. But yeah, I think that, man. I mean, what else can you do this week? And again, it's sort of like, do I need to go out for a workout and work on something right now? No, you just need to be rested and recovered and mentally in the right place. I really am. I'm just sort of like kind of leaving the mystery out there. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm leaving the door open. I know what I've done in the past. I know kind of what I've been doing here as far as training. And I mean, it's been similar. I honestly don't think that I've pushed myself as hard this training period as I have in the past, but I don't necessarily think that's going to mean for, a bad day or anything like that. I think that, it's funny. I've said this once before. I was talking about one of the races you did, and it's that won on Nashville with the big hill coming out of the swim and everything. And you got done with that race and you pointed your head and you just said that was smart racing. And I think that is, I mean, when you think about you think about smart racing and what that even means, it's sort of like how you always talk about, think about how is this decision going to affect the run, those types of things, and how you approach the whole day mentally and just with a positive angle. And I think if you get the doubts going, man, that's just like, that stuff can just, keep, pulling you back all week. And then you start getting in these head spaces and everything like that. And I just think it's one of those things where you just kind of got to let go, man. It's like, fine. It's going to be fun. Like, that's the thing, right? I'm really kind of excited. It's been 2 years since I've raced, and I don't need to like tie my reputation to some kind of number or something like that. I just want to go out there and just do a awesome self-supported, or not self-supported, but like supported, aid stations and people cheering and fans out there and people supporting you all over the place. And there's other athletes all over the place, 3,000 athletes maybe racing or something like that.
For sure.
What the energy in that, that's exciting, man. It's sort of like, it's I always say it's our mini Super Bowl, it's like you walk out on that field and it's like, they're looking at you, kind of, there's only like a couple thousand people versus 80 billion
80
or whatever.
billion, right?
But it's still important. And I think that we have to soak that part of it in. It's like our chance to sort of, shine and be somebody that we kind of want to be for a while, and that's just so exciting.
You're getting all emotional over here. Like you're,
well, yeah.
You hit me over a count right there. Listen, you should, if you're feeling one thing on race week, it should be excited and optimistic. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be anything other. It shouldn't be negative or worrying or looking for excuses or what I didn't do. It should be, I'm excited to be able to get to do this. I'm excited to see what can happen. I'm optimistic about what might happen. That doesn't mean you have to have these super high, lofty goals or these measurements of success or failure. That's the beauty. Like, and I still, like, as a coach and an athlete, like when I go out and train, when I go out and race, yeah, I generally kind of know, at least when I race, I generally kind of know what kind of fitness I have. But I still know that just like on a regular training day, anything can happen. The stars could all align, because the fitness that you go into a race with still blurs the lines. Like we talked about, this has been, I think quite a few months ago, I think I mostly talked about it on one of our Zoom calls, but how all of your zones blend together like the colors of a rainbow. Like, all the colors, all your Roy G. Bibs blend into the next one. There's not a finite beginning and end. And athletes still think this for whatever reason. Like they look at their, like, okay, well, my average, my zone 2 heart rate is 152 to 162, and I went up the hill and I went 164. Is that okay? Did I ruin the intent and integrity of the workout? No, you didn't. Like zones, heart rate, power, even feel, RPE, they all blend together. Some days your low end zone 2 might get you a zone 3 pace because you're feeling that good. Same thing goes for, you're pushing the bike a little bit too hard on the middle end, it's more of a zone 3, but everything blends. They all overlap, right? By a certain percentage or a certain degree. There's overlap in every zone that you have. There's not a switch in your body that goes, all right, Mike Trolley is now gone from zone 2 to zone 3. Initiate this. It doesn't work that way. Okay. It's all blends. The same thing goes with fitness. There is a general ballpark in which your fitness is in. And just like in training, you can show up on race day and your body might swing and miss, because even though you've had the fitness, it might not present itself on race day. It might be, 10, 15, 20 minutes slower. At the same extent, your general level of fitness could also have the day of its life and yield 20 to 25 minutes faster than what you have. So there's always this ballpark of what I consider acceptance about where you generally should fall because of the average amount of work that you've done. Like if you look back through all of your training, you can, that's like when I go into race, like I kind of write, all right, good swim, great swim, good swim, meh swim. And the same thing goes for bike split, run split, 1 mega pace. This is generally around the area that I'm going to probably fall, but they're huge ranges. They're not like, a set number. And I've had races where I've been right in the middle. I've had races where I've gone, way better or way lower. But that's how you should kind of approach race day, is you have the fitness to do it. Now, again, being such a long day that is Ironman, there are 30-minute swings in every race. There's 30-minute swings in the slower direction, and there could easily be 30-minute swings in the faster direction. You just can't go into a race with expectation, because you're setting yourself up for, in my opinion, just ultimate failure. Or, wait, great, you met your expectation, but how much, I knew I was going to do that, so what's the fun in it? Instead of surprising yourself and kind of looking down at your watch and thinking, oh my God, dude, I can't believe I'm running this pace. This is great. Like, I feel incredible. That feeling carries you, not the stress of having to meet a pace or meet a time limit that you're probably going to, throw out the window the first 4 or 5 hours because something's going to go wrong or the weather's going to do this. Like, just race free, be optimistic, be energetic, be excited about it. And like you said, it's like your own mini Super Bowl. Like, it's a special day. You get to tune everything else out, and life and problems and whatever. It's like, now you just got to, strap on some spandex, put a little chamois cream on, and go to work.
Just go to work.
Just go to work, do the fancy stuff.
Yeah, well, I often talk about how I think going slower is harder sometimes, and I think that's another thing with this weather. We're going to have this, everybody's planned for their kind of, ideal pace or whatever in their mind, and they have that thing, and they get out there, and maybe they're, in theory, kind of holding back, and that's why I'm such a big, I'm a big feel guy, because I could, like you said, I love what you said about the zones and how they kind of overlap, and you just never know. Like, some days zone 3 might feel like zone 2 or whatever, and that could very well be the case. And certainly that overlap might stretch a little further into some areas because you feel better. And that's not, that necessarily doesn't have anything to do with the weather. It has something to do with it, but it can be that way on any day. And that's what I get out there and look for. Like, I've always on the bike, I'm always listening to my quads, I'm always kind of like, when we did Wisconsin, we did Barlow, that I knew I didn't want to do that very often, but I had to at one point. You had to push it a little bit. But that's the thing, is like, you listen to those little, like, kind of what you're talking about, those little mosquito bites or those body punches or whatever you think. You just can't take too many too hard into the liver or whatever. Or the kidney. The kidney punches.
You can only take so many shots liver the punches. Liver.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like, you got to really kind of keep an eye on that. And you should, the thing is like, you should know when that's too much. But the hard part is knowing, like, when it's not enough. You know what I mean? Like, because you're like, well, I did this in training. I feel really good. I don't know if I should push a little. Yeah, maybe you could. How are you going to know that? Like, I mean, I think, to me, that's one of the interesting things about perfect weather, is that you could be holding back a little bit too much, and it might be, tensing you up or something.
Dude, on race day and on the run, if you're going to go with something, go with your gut. Mm-hmm. Like, go with what your gut's saying. Like, do I got it today or do I not got it today? Like, I honestly believe every athlete knows this. Whether they believe it and act on it is another thing. Like, I'm not allowed to go over, the aerobic zone of 1.35 milliliters in blood lactate, so I must stay within this in order to. I'm like, dude, if you are feeling it, then get the F going. Like, get your move on. Like, if you're feeling it, go, because you might not ever have that opportunity again. Like, that's the one thing about racing I think people just ultimately fail to understand and fail to capitalize on, is they race so restricted onto what they assume they can do or what they've been told to do. Like, we give our athletes a general guideline on the bike. If you're doing heart rate or power, here's a general guideline up to mile 80. But honestly, after like mile 80 of the bike, we kind of let the reins loose and be like, listen, at mile 80, I'm going to be standing, on the pedestrian bridge, probably getting ready for about a rock and roll in. You're going to be, 25 miles out of town by yourself. I'm not going to have any idea how you're feeling. You know how you feel, and kind of just let the reins go. And like, now it's time for you to race, to be the athlete that you think you have in you today. No one else knows that. I don't know that. You don't know. Like, no one else knows that. No plan can perfectly predict. You either got it or you don't got it. And you need to know that. And so many people race so restricted. And again, like, pacing is very important, but on the run, especially the shorter the distance, after the first half, it's like, if you've got it that day. Like, the two races that I have known that I've just had it. Two of my best races ever. They're definitely my best runs, but they're two races where I ditched my heart rate monitor after the first mile because I didn't like what it was telling me, because it was in total contradiction to how my body felt. It was too high. It was an Ironman Arizona, which was the second full I've ever done. I tossed my heart rate monitor and my fuel belt. I was like, it was my second Ironman ever. I had done Ironman Arizona. This is like, good God, this is like 2009, I think, is when I did Ironman Florida, which is my first one. No, it was longer than that. God, it was a long time ago. And then my second one was 2 years later, Ironman Arizona. I came off the bike, pretty even splits. And I knew after about a half mile, I was like, I got it today. I don't want to carry this. I don't want to carry this fuel, but I'd spent like, $45 on this Nathan fuel belt. If it was all full with my Infinite, tossed it in the trash can with a heart monitor and just ran. And I ran pretty even that day. I ran like, I think 8:30s for the full. And then Augusta, I think I spoke with this a couple weeks ago, it was humid. It was hot. My heart rate monitor was like, or my heart rate was telling me I was like 179, 180 at mile 2. And I was like, I disagree. Like, I disagree. Like, I don't, whether it was right or not, I was like, you're messing with my head. Bye. Like, cause I know I'm not feeling that, I'm not in agreement with what you're telling me to do, which is like sending alerts to your body to slow down. I was like, I don't agree today. I'm going to go with my gut and believe in myself, not some unit and not some, predicted zone or predicted. I'm going with me. I'm going with my gut. I'm going to put my money on me today and see what happens. I end up having one of my best runs ever. That's just and you have to have that confidence and ultimately be aware enough to think, do I got it today? And if you do, then baby, let it go. Like, it is time to let it go, because if you have that feeling and that feeling ever presents itself, don't hold back. Go for it. Because you might never have that opportunity again in a race. We all have those days in training, right? Because you train 300 plus days out of the year. You're going to have some days where you feel like you're floating. You feel like you can produce power for ages. You feel like you can swim 5 miles. Well, you only race 2 or 3 times a year, right? So having that day line up perfectly isn't the same as training. Take it. But the same thing goes for if you're not feeling it.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Honor that part and give your body time, or at least do the best with what you had that day. Don't let it ruin it. Don't force it. Don't shove a square peg in a round hole. Give it time, right? Give it time. And that goes for both ways. It goes for having your best day and goes with feeling like you're having your worst day.
Yeah. I mean, figure it out. That's kind of part of the process, right? Like sometimes if you get off the bike or the swim and you get on the bike and you're like, man, I don't have the first hour. How many times we hear, I didn't really feel good till I 2-hour mark in training or whatever. Give it time, do what it has to do. And then, just try to figure out, maybe you need more fuel, maybe you need more water, maybe you need more, maybe you need to push it more and get your legs into the game. I mean, sometimes that happens to me a lot, is like, sometimes I just need to like kind of hammer it for a while and just get my body waking up. And I was thinking about that. It's like, sometimes you can cruise along at a certain pace and it can sort of feel okay and feel good. But then if you kind of step on it a little bit and pick up a mile or 2 an hour, it can kind of feel the same. I mean, there was weird gray areas in cycling, I think, especially over a long day like that, where, if you're going by power, I guess that gives you a better indication a lot of times. But sometimes you just need to kind of wake up the legs and if you're moving them the same, it feels like the same effort sometimes, but you're just going faster. And that's sort of like coming out of hills or whatever it is. Don't rein it back, kind of let it flow. And it's like, I always talk about that with swimming in a pool versus on open water. You just got to let go and go. You're not going to hit a wall. It's just like wide open. You got to just keep going straight, man. And that's what it's a biker putting on those metaphorical brakes by pedaling slower or just staying real conservative. Sometimes like your legs are ready to roll.
Sometimes they're not.
Sometimes
but you got to know that. They could come around. And that's just one of those things you just got to be willing. You got to be willing, to go for it. Like that was one of, I want to talk a little bit about the pro race at 70.3 World Championships before we go off air. But that was one of the things I thought was remarkable about listening to Gustav Iden, who I did pick Blumenfeld to win. He had a mechanical, or I think he would have had the day. But Gustav Iden, just unreal. How like a 3:37 on that course is just like, it blows my mind. And he's such a good, nice kid. Like, it's good to have that kind of person as a face and future of our sport. But he was saying that he thought he almost blew himself up on the bike. He was going so hard, he wasn't feeling very good. And then I think he was able to kind of cruise on the run because he was absolutely destroying everyone. Sam Long, American, I thought had an incredible race. He'll be here racing in Chattanooga this weekend. There's a pretty decent pro race here for the men and women. But I did think it was interesting, like talk about like, getting to race different courses, like the professional men who got in the water at like 640 or 650 compared in their conditions versus the conditions of like the later age group men and in the age group women, like that started like 2.5-3 hours later. Total different course, basically because of when the rain and the hail and everything came out. It made for an insanely difficult day, which, dude, it's a quote unquote world championship. It should be a freaking hard day. Like that should be how it goes. And then on the women's side, Lucy Charles Barkley pretty much just said, "Hey, hello, I'm basically going to dominate the sport for like the next 2 years." She absolutely ran away with it. And it should be noted, I think, the last 3 to 4 years, she's been kind of like the bridesmaid of Danielle Reef and all the races she's done. Well, she's been coached by her husband the entire time. Well, it just so happens about, I think it was like 3 to 4 months ago, she decided to actually get a real coach and went with Dan Lorang, who's John Frodeno's coach, who, kind of knows a little bit about being incredible. And then she goes and blows the field away at 70.3 World Championships. So, yeah, hey, it's, a feather in the cap of the coaches there. It's like you can get so far before, of course, it's probably better not to have your spouse being your coach, but yeah, she was unbelievable. She was unreal. She came out like over 1:20 ahead of the field in the water and just stayed away all day. It wasn't really just kind of incredible to watch, and kudos to her. It seems like she has finally like broken through the Buffalo Bills seam where she was runner up, and she just destroyed the field. Excited to see how the women, but yeah, hard day for everyone. Awesome day. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have. It was fun to watch. It was kind of boring though because
It was fun to watch. It was kind of.
It was fun to watch just because I think the scenery is cool. And it's always fun to watch athletes at that level compete and just how mind blowing it is for them to run that kind of pace on that course and go that fast. It's just unreal for people to do that. But yeah, both races.
Yeah, it kind of takes fun out of it.
I mean, not for us guys who just grind our way through. But no, it was fun to watch.
3.5 hours.
It was 3. I think his time was 3:37.
I mean, that feel alone, we know a guy that's like up there all the time in every race, and he was like 30th in his age group or something. I mean, it was just like, bam.
Yeah, it's a deep field. Yeah, I mean, I knew a few athletes who won like overall age group Ironman titles, something like that, who were like not even in the top 10 of their age group. Of course, you also know like the timing of it. People were probably looking to do like Kona and doing a bunch of different things. It's like late starts, but whatever. Always good to have. It'll be back in the U.S. next year, and we'll be back on Thursday. We'll at least release on Thursday. We'll probably record Wednesday and Thursday. We got stuff to do this week. Mike's got a big race. I've got a big spectating day. I got to get my legs under me for that. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Always go to our website. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. It's C26Triathlon.com. Click on the coaching tab. You can find out more about all the amazing coaches that we have. We got 2 coaches participating this weekend, you and Phil. Coach Nicole participated this last weekend at 70.3 Worlds. And I ran a few times this last week. Other than that, also you can follow our Instagram, C26 Triathlon, and it'll have all the fun stuff, nice images, cool things going on within our community for this weekend itself. But that's it. If you need Mike or want anything from him, he's at crushingiron@gmail.com. If you need anything from me or have any questions, I'm at C26coach@gmail.com.
And it's still raining here in town.
Still raining. Fast blowing and cool ripper.
All right, we will see you back on Thursday, and I probably maybe go over the course a little bit. Or
Let's do it, yeah.
All right. See you later, man.